After months of costly assaults, Russian attempts to advance were stopped dramatically by the Ukrainians. However, the Ukrainians did not simply sit behind their defensive lines waiting for the enemy to attack again, and prepared a plan to break the Russian lines wide open. As Russian combat power and offensive capability drained, the Ukrainians maintained an active defense. The Ukrainian Third Army Corps conducted repeated local counterattacks, supported by artillery strikes and drone operations, which continuously drained Russian manpower and resources, preventing them from launching larger assaults. However, Ukraine was quietly preparing something larger. The timing reflects months of preparation, as once Russian advances stalled, Ukrainian commanders gained the opportunity to rotate forces, improve logistics, accumulate reserves, and conduct extensive reconnaissance efforts. At the same time, Ukrainian strikes continued to degrade Russian supply routes over the Zherebets River by targeting pontoon bridges. As a result, by the time Ukrainian forces launched their offensive, Russian formations had already suffered heavy attrition while being stretched across an increasingly vulnerable salient. As you remember, Ukrainians had jump-started their counterattacks by launching a deep breakthrough into the northern part of the Russian salient. Now, Ukrainians built on that momentum and quickly retook control of a forest strip to the west of here. This pincer attack cuts off consolidated Russian control over Rydkudub and places Russian soldiers inside in an operational encirclement. However, the assaults did not end there. To the south, Ukrainians conducted a similar pincer maneuver on Russian forces in Chandri Holov, cutting off Russian control of Seredny. While Russian forces in these pockets are not fully encircled, Ukrainian pressure on their rear means that any and all Russian reinforcements sent in are immediately tied down between the Ukrainian pincers. This then allows continuous FPV drone strikes to degrade Russian positions before Ukrainians move in and clear the full area without taking any friendly casualties. Importantly, the Ukrainian Third Army Corps is extensively using ground attack drones to achieve its successes, as seen in various footage from the area. These ground drones allow Ukrainian soldiers at the tip of the pincers to maintain stable supply lines, with these robots being extremely resistant to Russian artillery and mortar fire, and even Russian FPV strikes. Additionally, ground attack drones play a major role in their ground assault operations. Smaller vehicles akin to remote-controlled toy cars are strapped with explosives and driven straight into Russian bunkers or buildings, detonating and collapsing entire structures and strongpoints full of Russian soldiers at barely any cost. Then, on the larger drones, Ukrainians mount heavy machine guns to engage Russian soldiers directly or suppress enemy positions, allowing Ukrainian assault troops to close the distance safely. These machine gun ground drones excel at their task. As on the Ukrainian battlefield, staying light and mobile during an assault can mean the difference between life and death for soldiers under heavy enemy drone observation and strikes, as well as drawing enemy fire onto the way more heavily armored ground drone. As Ukrainian forces expanded their breakthrough, Russian commanders attempted to rush reinforcements across the Zherebets River to stabilize the front. Understanding the importance of preventing this, the Ukrainians took countermeasures, and these efforts quickly turned into another series of disasters. The Ukrainians have established firm FPV fire control over the crossings, preventing the enemy from reinforcing the areas under Ukrainian attack. Released footage shows even single Russian soldiers being targeted while trying to cross the river, while the vehicles used to transport them to the crossing points are also hunted down by Ukrainian drone operators. Overall, the Ukrainian counteroffensive against the Russian salient near Liman is steadily producing results by combining sustained attritional pressure with carefully prepared offensive operations. The Ukrainian forces have expanded their breakthrough and placed the entire salient under increasing risk of collapse, while the extensive use of ground drones continues to preserve Ukrainian lives while improving their battlefield effectiveness, allowing Ukrainian commanders to maintain relentless pressure on increasingly strained Russian forces. Through these developments, the Ukrainian battle to eliminate the Russian salient north of Liman is showcasing how Ukraine transforms active defense into an offensive opportunity. This sustained pressure forced many Russian analysts to think that Ukraine is preparing something far more ambitious than drone strikes meant simply to eliminate Russian soldiers and weaken their overall posture. Some of them are increasingly speculating that Ukrainian special forces are rehearsing operations around the Kinburn Peninsula, pointing to reported boat exercises and smokescreen training near the Yuzhny Bug River leading toward the Dnipro Bug estuary. According to these Russian assessments, more than 2,500 Ukrainian soldiers from various formations subordinate to the 30th Marine Corps have reportedly assembled in the direction. They are supported by 46 boats, over 100 inflatable boats, at least 9 naval drones, and additional armored vehicles and artillery systems. Russian analysts believe the Ukrainian plan for an amphibious attack would unfold in several carefully coordinated phases. Ukraine would initially conduct a limited diversionary landing near Pokrovsky, using a relatively small force designed to probe Russian defenses while establishing a temporary beachhead. Fire support would reportedly come from rocket-armed naval drones and FPV drones operating from both landing craft and nearby positions on the mainland. Once Russian defenses would be pinned down, a larger assault force of up to 800 troops would land further along the coastline, aiming to isolate nearby settlements before advancing toward the administrative boundary separating Kherson and Mykolaiv regions.